and get the encoder running, and you are good to go.
All right. Welcome back to Terry and Gary's Low Expectations podcast. We got a pretty stacked show today, I'd say. We have actor Lou Temple from The Walking Dead, a lot of horror movies with Rob Zombie, The Waitress, also a little bit of a baseball player. We'll get into that later. And we have a Major League ball player, too, former Detroit Tiger, Washington Nationals, comeback player of the year, Dmitri Young. So,
hey,
Thank you, guys.
we also have Rhino. Hey, he doesn't need an introduction, but he always makes me do one for him. So
right, I pay him good money to, he sometimes I pay him a little extra to spice it up. Great WWE superstar, Impact superstar.
Check out
graffiti and all that stuff, and maybe some sparklers for pyro because the budget it's limited. So we improvise. So yeah, thanks guys for coming on the show. Gary asked all the tough questions. I just asked the fun questions, so you got to watch out for Gary.
Yeah, you go ahead then. I'll start sharing this.
Okay, yeah. See, Gary's a tech guy. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm lucky I still have Facebook.
Hey, you see, it took me 15 minutes to try and get on. I am not a tech geek at all.
Well, I wasn't going to stooge you off, Dmitri, but you kind of did it yourself. But hey, you're well worth the wait. And Dmitri, we've been friends for quite some time. And I was going to wear the jersey you gave me in 2012, the WrestleMania that was down in, I think it was Miami. Yeah. And but I'm saving that for tomorrow. So I'm going out to a nice dinner. So.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. Where are you going to eat? You're not vegan yet, are you?
No, not yet. But I actually just today started to cut down my caffeine intake. Oh man, don't do that. Gary's talking about going vegan.
It's like driving an electric car. Yeah.
Why?
No, Gary's not really doing that. I'm always on Gary's case.
He wants me to lose a little weight.
Yeah.
Gary's always it's not getting in the ring with him,
Right. Gary's always cooking up the hamburgers and stuff like that, steak. You should see what he grills up. So he's always inviting me over, and then when I get there, he locks the door because he knows how much I can eat.
Oh man, that's not cool, man. I know if I'm coming over, I'm bringing an appetite.
Right.
Well, you ever get down to Monroe, come on over. I'll lock the doors too.
Right. I know the code to the backyard. So. And the garage.
The code to the refrigerator.
Right.
Dimitri, are you out in Ventura County?
Yes, I am. I'm in Camarillo to be exact.
Oh, that's so pretty out there. I'm in Los Angeles, in Silver Lake, and
okay.
So we're experiencing a nice summer up to this point.
Yeah, it's starting to reopen and stuff because I like to go surf fish, and let me tell you, during March, April, and May, it was like, good Lord, I've been chomping at the bits, and then I'm seeing people that are in Northern Cal and then in Florida and stuff, they're doing their fishing on YouTube and stuff. And
it feels a little stepchildish, right? Don't you feel a little hard done by being, the rules?
Oh my God. You know what? And I'm type 1 diabetic too. So,
okay.
With an underlying condition. So I get to go to the grocery store at 6 a.m. with the senior citizens so I can get my food early before the crowds rush in. And it's funny when you go to the grocery store, when you line up, you got to be 6 feet apart, but people are walking side by side by you as you're in the grocery store. It's like, man, this is no good.
It's funny because you mentioned that they put arrows, where and a lot of people ignore them, but I start to go down the wrong way and I'm like, oh crap. And then you see people trying to adjust, but people aren't used to that. But yeah, they're just walking past each other.
When you go down the aisle, Rhino, do people just clear the way? I mean, on a normal day, not let's say there's no epidemic.
You know what? I paid Gary to do that, to clear people out of the way, give me 10 feet, to feed my ego. But he just took my money and ran. So
you can't catch
him. No, they don't do that, So, but yeah, it's not to cut you off, but when they first started doing that, the seniors in the morning, there was a buddy of mine. He went in there. He's probably in his mid 40s, late 40s, and he had to grab something real quick. And the seniors were yelling at him. They chased him out of the store.
Oh, wow.
It was hilarious.
Did he also forget to wear his mask?
I don't know if he had the mask on or what, but they chased him out of there. They were yelling. And
Oh, man.
it's like when the seniors watch wrestling, they'll come at you with their bags and stuff, and their purses. And, yeah.
You ever get beat up by a senior?
When I was doing Walker, Texas Ranger, my grandfather would watch this show with his boys in Louisiana, and they thought it was real. And I would get my butt kicked by Chuck Norris in a roundhouse every week. Okay, that's in the script. That's how it's going to go. I mean, right, Rhino? And my granddad would get so mad because his buddies would give him such a time about me getting my ass kicked. And I tried to explain it. Granddad, this is a show. I'm serving Chuck Norris and CBS here. I'm supposed to. No, why the roundhouse is coming every time.
Hey, that's good that he was entertained like that.
Right.
I think old people have the same suspension of disbelief as children. I think it works at their imagination. It's okay.
Hey,
We should
Look
all
forward
be
to in
so
30
lucky.
years.
What's that, Dmitri?
I said, that's what I get to look forward to in 30 years.
Yes.
30, 40.
Dimension.
Oh,
You
man.
have a Dmitri Young story, right, Lou?
I do. Speaking of this, Mr. Young, I'm gonna bring a story to the plate today. You were I forget the name of your high school. You may or may not know, but I have a baseball background. I went out and played. I was originally drafted out of Seattle by the Mariners. Played with the Astros, but mainly went and coached and scouted for the Astros. So there was a scouts team, and I think it was run by Ross Sapp, one of my scouts.
Yep.
And I believe that you were playing on it as a sophomore in high school. And one of the things that was great, we talked about all these players, you were talked about all the time, was what a solid citizen and individual you were. And one of the mentions was that anytime your father said anything, your ears pricked up and you would hear it. He could whisper something in the stand, Dmitri, and you were on point. And you've always been a solid individual. We sent, as a sophomore, there was a gentleman, he was an old scout named Bob Zuck. Now, Bob had drafted Reggie Jackson, Bob had drafted Gary Carter, and Bob had drafted Ellis Valentine. His specialty was power hitting. And we sent him to look at Dmitri Young one day. We said, tell us about this kid's bat. And he called us back and he said, as a sophomore, he said, this is the quickest bat I have ever seen. This guy can hit. And you've always hit, dude.
Hey, thank you. And yes, I remember Ross Sapp. I remember Doug Deutsch, Reggie Waller.
I just spoke to Doug about you. Doug just called me. He said to say hello, and Reggie Waller, and that was the whole cool thing back then.
Well, I still do stuff with Reggie Waller now with the Breakthrough Series and the Hank
good.
Aaron Invitational. So I'm in constant contact with him and his brother Ty. They're like uncles.
Super guys. I mean, those are baseball legends, like Rhino's a legend. My question to you is you've always been a great player. Were you always a fan?
Funny you should say that. That's how it all started for me when I was playing, and this was when I was like 7 years old. I played T-ball. This was in Oceana, on base in Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Wow.
And that's where it all started. And, when you go to the concession stand, get a hot dog and a drink after the game, some potato chips. Well, they used to have the boxes of Topps Floridanos up there. And you pay like 25 cents, and then they upped it to 35 cents, 50 cents, then $1. But, I started getting baseball cards because, I want to be interested in what I'm playing. And I started collecting baseball cards from now. I don't know if you heard about my PSA 10 rookie card collection.
Dude. I'm amazed.
And it all started from that.
when I went out, my first coach, I was a little middle infielder, and my first coach in Seattle was Bill Mazeroski. Okay.
Oh wow.
But also, when I went to work with the Astros, my locker was right next to this guy, Bert Campy, right?
Oh yes.
And so these guys were appearing, my heroes from the cards morphed into actual living, breathing, smoking, drinking humans. And I wonder if you ever experienced that when you first got drafted and you had cards of some of your coaches.
I did. I mean, I was drafted by the Cardinals, and I go to Johnson City, and my coach wasn't a big leaguer, but who came down was the roving outfield instructor and the base running instructor, Bake McBride.
Wow.
And then you had the farm director, who is now a
Ted
Hall
Simmons.
of Famer, Ted Simmons. Yes, sir.
Whoa.
Both of them chain smoking in the dugout. Just,
Yeah.
both of them, and they say, "Hey, kid, next time, why don't you take a couple of pictures, see what he looks like?" Yeah, when you get on base, get a bigger lead. I mean, the whole dugout just smoking. It's on both sides too, because the coaches on the other team are smoking as well. And then you had Joe Marlboro out there in the outfield, the Marlboro man. And you also had Joe Cool, the Camel, and then they wiped that all out, and that was like the doom for the minor leagues.
That was the Appy League, I think, Johnson City.
Yes.
Did you ever play in the Sally League? I'm trying to remember.
No, I skipped the Sally League and played in the Midwest League in Springfield, Illinois.
Yeah, I didn't like the Midwest League. That's where I started, and I didn't. It was too cold. I didn't care for it. But did you ever play when you went to Detroit? Was Gonzo there? Was Louis there?
No, he was tearing it up in Arizona.
Okay, he had already left Detroit then. Yeah. Gotcha. Wow.
We've talked to Rhino already about, with wrestling and COVID, how it is performing in front of, no crowd. Baseball is coming back up. I saw that they're going to do a 60-game season here pretty soon. What do you guys think about that? I mean, how much of the crowd do you feed off of when you're playing baseball, or is it pretty much just,
Well, the funny thing about baseball is, well, in high school, no one really goes to a baseball game except for your parents, a couple of friends, and if you have some talent, a couple of scouts. Then you go to the minor leagues, and you're playing in front of small crowds, nothing major or anything like that. There's never been pep rally for baseball players, so we're consumed with the crowd and stuff. Even though the crowd gives you energy, it's not the be-all, end-all, and I think the guys are just going to be excited just getting back out there and actually playing, because they're already pretty much ready to get out there before this pandemic hit. And then, I mean, Jesus Christ, the wheels fell off, the bridge collapsed, and it was just like everything just was crappy. And 60 games, I would have personally liked to see more, like on Sundays, play the world famous doubleheader on Sundays. And I'm not talking about the new school 1 o'clock, 7 o'clock split. That's horrible. I like the good old fashioned 30 minutes after the game, eat you a hot dog, drink you a drink, and then get back out there and play another game.
Let's
get it
done. I like the spring training schedule. Let's play the game at 10 o'clock in the morning and be done. Got the rest of the day, I get a good night's rest.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened when you play the Cubs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. I think it will be interesting. I think it will be a new world. There's some teams that don't draw that well anyway, so the
Marlins
might not be that much different.
I think
it might save a couple franchises, to be honest. But I think it is the guys. The energy of doing it will be there, like Dmitri says, and they love playing, so they'll play.
Yeah.
I think the safety of the players and their families, the most important thing. But I think America really needs baseball, because baseball's been there for so many years, and it's just been like wrestling means a lot to a lot of fans, but I think baseball, you can always count on it, and sometimes you you forget that it's there, and you're like, wait, I really need it in my life. Especially times like this, people could really use baseball in their life, and they forget how important it is, just not only for families, but just for that person, because they can tune out all the problems that they have, and they can watch their favorite team, and just escape reality, like movies or wrestling. But I think baseball, because we all heard the stories from our parents or grandparents about how they watched this legend play and that legend play, and so definitely I hope they can, everything works out well, and when the bats start cracking and everything, and there's no monkey wrench thrown in there, because sometimes you get going and a wrench is thrown in the thing, and next thing you know, it's kind of like if you're coming back from injury, and then you re-injure yourself. It's like, oh God, so I guess that would be even worse.
Yeah, good. You know what? You brought up a great point, because baseball is held at a higher standard than football and basketball and hockey. You hear the stuff about basketball and they may not start up. I mean, it's like, okay, we understand. It's like baseball, people get really irate. Their emotions come out. I mean, and I was around, well, I was on the 40-man roster during the 94 strike. And let me tell you, everybody thought they were playing until August 12th hit. And then you turn on the television, it's a AAA baseball game, because they really went on a strike. And I mean, the people were irate. They wanted their baseball. They wanted it now. And then when 9/11 hit, I was with the Reds, and we were in Chicago at the time, and in the John Hancock building, we were staying in the Westin right next door, and that was one of the targeted buildings. And when they shut down everything, and everybody from America came together, baseball was sorely needed. In 2 weeks, and we got back out there, it was just like, it was wow. It was like something I'd never seen before. I was proud to be a part of it, and with everything that's going on today, with everything, with the police brutality to the pandemic to everything that's going on, we more than ever, just like you talking about baseball. Right. And I want to credit wrestling for being able to continue even when some people didn't want to be involved with it. But for me, I'm a big wrestling fan, and I was, I understood from the standpoint of the show must go on, and people sacrificing themselves to be able to entertain us. I personally want to thank all of you guys for doing that for me, being a wrestling fan since I was like 10, to still be able to watch it and be able to be friends with Rhino. And I mean, this is all cool for me because I'm a nerd inside. I mean, I got a rough exterior, but look at my background. I have toys and everything. That's what I'm all about. And like I said, it's opening up out here, so I'm starting to do baseball hitting lessons again. And of course, we have the waivers for the kids to sign and wipe down everything. I have my mask and all that on, and that's my passion. I like few things in life: baseball. I love my wrestling. I love fishing, and I love chopping it up with the fellas.
Nice. I like all. I'm mowing what you're growing, Dmitri. That's pretty cool.
He brought his glove. He's ready.
I wanted to ask you. It's really interesting. You don't get to ask like this combination where you have, and Rhino is like right in the middle. So I have this unique opportunity to work with, like play with superstars and work with superstars, and then work with young up and comers, young actors that are going to be superstars. And you can tell, who's got that thing, that it factor. But all of them. So in Hollywood, I, having played baseball and been around baseball all my life, I recognized the bravado of what it takes to play. Dmitri, Rhino, what it takes in the ring. You got to have you got to bring it. You got to cowboy up and do it. In Hollywood, to a point, they'll make you look good. They'll prop you up. You can fake it to make it. But when I'm in doing a scene with someone and looking across from them, one of my favorite things to do is recognize, oh, shit, you're scared. My God, you're Denzel Washington. You're a little nervous right here. Oh, I am too. You're okay. And I found playing baseball like you, Dmitri, when I watched you hit, I never saw that at all. I never felt, there were probably some guys you faced were like, okay, I better tune it up. I better dial it up a bit. But it's real, like in the moment. And then Rhino, you understand what I'm talking about that performance grade where I've got to, can I deliver? Will I deliver? Can I deliver? And then also the athleticism of it's just mano a mano, and I've trained all my whole life to do this. And I find that so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you lose yourself, you know, because how you guys were talking about earlier, you know, you've had you're working with your heroes, you know, and you know, stepping in the ring and meeting all these guys that I watched as a kid, and I'll never forget the first time, you know, I was in a WCW locker room. And, you know, you had Macho Man, Randy Savage, you had Big Boss. I mean, everybody from the '80s. This was 1995. And then I never told Hulk Hogan this, but he was drinking beer. And as a kid, he said, train for me. He said nothing about beer. He only had to do a little walkout, right? And I'm 19, and I'm, you know, and I'm not a naive kid, but the child in me was like, wait, he's drinking beer, you know, and then I justified it. And that was when the Big Show debuted. He was sitting in the crowd. And then he grabbed another one, and I'm justifying that one. I'm like, okay, well, he's in his 40s, and he's well over 21, and, you know, he does look great, you know, so he can't Finally, after his sixth beer, I just threw up my hands, and I'm like, you know what? I can't. I can't do it anymore. But, yeah, and then, yeah, because we were watching the monitors, and he could tell I was looking at him, you know, so. You know, like you guys were talking about guys chain smoking and stuff, and you know, and you start to experience all that stuff, and it's kind of wild, you know. So, but when you're in the ring with them, looking across, you kind of have that moment, but you kind of like, you know, get back on track, and sometimes you start thinking 2 steps ahead, and then you lose that, you know, like if you're supposed to be scared or how you react, but as you go through the motion so many times, it gets a little easier to, you know, think ahead and be in the moment too.
Right.
Wow.
What got you interested?
You know what? I was liking what I was hearing right there, because that was giving me flashbacks of when I first got called up to St. Louis in '96. And just like you were saying, you know, you have these, your perception of different people. Like, I got called up, Ozzie Smith was there, and yeah, Dennis Eckersley, and then Mark McGuire came over the following year, and you're around these like Hall of Fame type players, and you just watching how they operate. You're like, dang, he drinks beer. I didn't know that. Dang, I didn't know he liked those Nikes like that. He keeps his shoes clean. Oh man, he got nice wardrobe. I mean, all these things that you don't know. You just know who the player is, but you don't know anything about him. And then I go over to Cincinnati, and you have Barry Larkin, and you know, he's just like nice as pie. But when it comes to game time, you know, he got a bulldog in him. And playing with Ken Griffey Jr., you know, he's a kid, all grown up. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us. That's Junior. That is him to a T. Then I played with Pudge in Detroit, and that meanness, that bravado that he has, he's the exact opposite in the locker room and stuff. So I know exactly what Rhino's talking about, and I know that's how people feel about me, because they see me with the big beard, big larger than life dude, and I'm like, hey dude, how you doing, man? Let's go eat. You know, it's like, oh my God, he was nice to me. It was like, oh, this is all an act. We're entertainers. That's what I learned as a baseball player, that we're entertainers, not just baseball players. You got to have some sort of personality to put asses in seats.
Good point.
Going back to that, do you guys feel a responsibility to help the younger players when they come up, or younger actors or younger wrestlers? It seems like that's like he was saying, you know, start from the bottom. You got the guys above you, you got the guys below you, then you guys try to help those guys get to where you're at, or even more. Is that something you guys?
I was big on that. It was part of, you know, taking care of the guys, being a good teammate, And I learned that in the Cardinal organization. So when I did get traded over to the Reds, it was all about picking the next guy up, and it was about, communication and, getting on the same page. And then when you get the younger guys that are coming up, because back in the day, rookies are supposed to be seen, not heard.
Right.
And with saying that, you couldn't do anything without a veteran, getting on you, making it kind of uncomfortable for a guy.
Terrible. It was terrible on young players back in the day.
And it made it impossible for them to be able to perform. So I was that guy. Once I, had some years under my belt, a guy gets called up. There'll be some veterans that was on the Tigers that would just totally shit on the rookies and stuff. But I would pull the rookie in, get them comfortable, go get them some clothes. Hey, let's have a big league meal. You never had one of those before. Let's go after the game. And we go to Morton's or Ruth Chris, somewhere like that. And their eyes are this big, and then we'll play the credit card game, which they would lose on purpose, but we already paid a bill, and then they had a little debit card going, can I pay for this? And no, they already paid. We're already laughing at the guys. So we're breaking them in, giving them a positive experience of their dream. Their dream is to become a big league ball player. It should not be shit on. It shouldn't be like an unenjoyable experience on something that you wanted to do since you was like 4 years old when your parents took you to your first baseball game or you watched it on television. And so I like to be that bridge to have those guys be comfortable, have a good time so they can perform better and stay in the big league.
Yeah, for sure. In Houston, we were notorious for having an older veteran club, and they were not good with young players. And we broke a young kid in, Craig Biggio, and they were unmerciful on him. I mean, to the point where, it was really unfair, where he never got over it. He actually wasn't really cool himself as a veteran to young players. And then Lance came in, Berkman, and just said, that's not cool. Let's have some fun, but yeah, it can go, and managers dictate it too. Managers can say, this isn't good. As actors go, I try to, avail myself, whatever anyone wants to know. Most times they're making more money, or they're, if they're 21, they're the lead of the movie, and I'm working for them essentially. So if they want to listen, I'll be happy to share what my experiences are. And a lot of them are really great. But one thing that I was saying, it's so interesting, that fear. You just look in someone's eye, and you might be doing a scene and you see fear and you recognize it, and it's being alive. They're actually alive in the moment, which is really great on film, I have to say. And that's where that magic is.
Now, real quick, some guys in wrestling, they might not have it, but they have that drawing ability. Like, for example, Ultimate Warrior, when he was really getting over really quick and really fast. So he might have been a younger guy. And then you might have had guys like, I'd throw out, that were older but could still help them out. Like you were saying, if an actor is 21 and he's a lead. Now with acting, if someone is a draw, will they put them in a lead before they're ready? And will they have guys help them out,
Yeah, a good example is, like, for instance, and I only know this because I used to work with this actor named R. Lee Ermey. You may remember him from Full Metal Jacket. He's the drill sergeant that gives the speech. He's passed away now, God rest his soul. But he was telling me a story about a young Brad Pitt in a movie called Seven. And Morgan Freeman and R. Lee, not older, but just more experienced and veteran. And of course, Brad's young and handsome and lots of opportunity, and they're in New York City, and maybe he didn't make his call a few times. Maybe he didn't know his lines quite as well as he could have. And they had to pull him aside and let him know, hey, you are the lead of this movie, but if you don't shape up, this might be the last time you're the lead of this movie. So you got to take care of your business, right, Dmitri? I mean, you do that. I'm sure Barry Larkin would do that to a young.
You know what? And it'll be just like that. And that's what I learned from Barry Larkin, because when I was in St. Louis under the Tony La Russa regime, oh boy, you know, they was good at showing you up and stuff. With Barry Larkin, he'll kind of just pull you aside, like, hey, you know, right there on that play, right there, you shouldn't have done that. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, I understand. And he'll dictate it like that. So one, nobody knows what's going on over there.
Right.
Number two, he made me feel good about myself without chewing me out. I know I messed up. He knows I messed up. But to chew me out, he knows that was the wrong route. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm going to take that from you. And that's something that Jason Kendall and myself talk about a lot. We have a podcast as well called Wrestling with
cool.
Sports.
Yeah, he's great.
With
Yeah,
Dennis
I love
Bell.
Jason.
Yeah. And we go back and forth about the baseball stuff. And
Did you run better than Jason? Could you outrun Jason on your best day?
on my best day, yeah. I was actually in high school.
You were a shortstop, by the way.
Yes, there was a scout day that we had at Orange Coast College my senior year. It was me, and we was doing the 60, and it was me, Sean Green, Benji Gill, and another guy named Antoine Henry, who was also drafted by the Cardinals that year.
Yeah,
And we all raced, and Rabbit won, and Antoine Henry, he won. He ran like a 6'3". I was right behind him at 6'5". Sean Green was right behind me at 6'6", and no, Benji was right behind me at 6'6", and Sean was barely behind him at 6'7". I mean, it was like that was like the fastest guys that was there.
Yeah, I loved Benji Gill. I loved him. I loved his glove, and I wanted him to hit his whole career. I don't know if he hit enough, but I loved his glove. Hey, did you ever have? Did you ever have in Detroit? I'm trying to think. Did you ever run across Darnell? Was he ever a coach of yours?
Darnell Cole?
Yeah.
No, he wasn't a coach of mine until I was in Washington. And he was in the minor league system in 2009, and that was my last year. I was rehabbing. I had a bad back and never got up with the team, but I got the service time. But he was one of the coaches there.
He was my roommate in the minor leagues. I like Darnell.
Awesome.
He was a
smart guy.
Yes. Yeah, he's smart. Yeah, he's for sure smart. You know, and back, Rhino, to the lesson thing about the older guys, and I've just been fortunate to have worked with Denzel twice. It's a lesson, but you have to pay attention. He's giving you an acting lesson without you even knowing it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And if you're paying attention, you're going to get a gift. The paycheck is insulary compared to what you're getting from D, man. But if you're not, it's very subtle. And if you miss it, you miss it, you know?
Yeah, I just he just seems like a beautiful person, you know, in real life.
Man. Yeah, and he does so much that people don't know. You don't know half of what Denzel does for the community. And he's not an easy man now. He's like a football coach. He's I wouldn't necessarily want him to be my dad. But
so you got some Michael Jordan in him?
Yeah, he's gonna be some hard. He's gonna lay down the law on you, and even in acting, like he'll make you. That's how you're gonna do it? Oh, I didn't see it that way. All right. Well, we'll see. All right.
He makes you think, huh?
Yeah. Oh, and then you're like, oh shit! If D's calling me out on this, I've really made him. I better reassess here. Yeah. You get nervous, you know, and then he takes care of you. But what it does is it makes you available where maybe you weren't before that. And now we're going to drop into it. Now we're going to get real. Now I got your attention. Let's get real now. And it's really great. It's amazing.
Well, you've been
you know, sometimes people have that way of bringing the best out of you.
Sure.
You know, and by demanding the best out of you. And Dmitri, one thing you were saying about the younger guys, getting them to feel comfortable, I think that's the biggest thing you can do, because, you know, if they're not comfortable around you, they're not going to open up. And then when they are comfortable, then they can perform at a better level, you know, and then, you know, once you get that, you know, that barrier broken down, you can, you know, get after them and bring the best out of them too. But I'll tell you, because I work a lot of shows, and I'm very blessed. I know a lot of like indie wrestlers and stuff too, and I work a lot of indie shows. And this is how I make guys feel comfortable. They'll walk in and they'll say, Rhino, very nice to meet you. And you can tell they're really nervous and stuff. And so I look at them and I tell them they have very beautiful eyes.
Ah,
They, because they're thinking of totally different things of, working with Jericho on the Titantron, going them through there, and you just throw a curveball, and they're just like, wait, what? And then all my buddies, because like I said, most of the locker room I know, and I've
yeah.
probably done that to them. So then they're like, they don't know where they're at in life, right? They're just staring at me, and I
That's
just look
great.
at them, and then I'll ask them if I can photograph them. I won't say take pictures. I go maybe later, and they're just like, now they're really like, okay, what did I step into, right?
Yeah.
And then we all start laughing, and you can see the sign of relief, like, okay. And then I just tell them, I ask them where they're from and this and that, and they're so comfortable. I took them to a place where they're like, oh my God, what's going on? And then it's like, oh, he's just like us. He's a joker. He likes to be in the locker room. He's not there for a payday. And then by the end of the day, usually they're coming up to me, and then they'll ask me, can you watch my match? But if I didn't break down that wall, then they wouldn't have asked me. They would have been too nervous. And then a lot of times I'll watch matches because it'll get me, ready for the show, and you hear the crowd and all that stuff, ready for the match on the show. And then afterwards, usually when you're leaving, after the show, they'll come up to you and joke with you, hey, are we going to take those pictures? And it's like, man, I get some sleep. So now you break all that down, and I shouldn't have told my secret because, a lot of the young wrestlers will be watching, and they'll say, well, hey, Rhino, you have very beautiful eyes.
Hey, Rhino, quick question. Have you, and are you interested in television or film? My daughter and I are watching The Big Show. He's got a children's television show on, you probably know, and it's really fun, and it's such a great concept, and I totally could see you doing something like that if you had an interest.
Right now, I really want to focus on the tail end of my wrestling career, and I have a little marina. But something like that, I think a show like that would something I would be interested in. I think, the tools that we're given, and I'm very I believe in God and everything, but like you guys, what you guys have done is, you take those tools, you use them, you put them to work, and you give back, whether it's people in the industry or around the community or even just your neighbor. And Gary, I know he does a lot for the community, and he does a lot for me, because he sees, like, I'm running for trustee. It's a little position, but without Gary's help, I wouldn't be able to be a good influence, and then younger people look up to you, whether it's younger men, younger women, and they go, wow, he a person that really cares, and they go out there and they work, they work hard. So, it's all of everybody working together and trying to improve the next generation of whether it's wrestlers or citizens or whatever. So, and that's the cool thing. Take the tools you're given, put them to work, and then help the other people out. So.
Got it. Yeah, I just sometimes I work with Stone Cold Steve Austin or Dallas. I'll work with Dallas Page, or Tyler Maine, and they're typically cast in that role. The tough guy, the heavy, the villain.
Right.
And so sometimes it's fun to see them outside of that, and sometimes they don't feel comfortable outside of, as the nice guy, who they actually really are. Sometimes, they need that,
Tyler Maine's an amazing guy. We had him in Monroe last year, and he was just the friendliest guy you'd ever meet. And Tyler's pretty cool. It was fun having him down here.
He's great, and he knows
Jason.
He knows
he's Michael Myers, so
he's Michael Myers, and Rhino. He picked me up by my neck. He knows his game the way you know your game, and he threw me around. I'm 5'10", 160. He threw me around like a puppet in that scene. But he knew how to do it professionally. By the way.
And that was your Rob Zombie Halloween, right?
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Like, to some people, you're Cal. Like my wife. My wife says that's Cal. And then for a whole genre of people, you're Axel.
Yes.
Walking Dead. What do you identify with the most? I mean, is it a banjo?
Yeah, I think because the eyeballs, it's sort of like Dmitri, you had great years in Cincinnati, a couple, in St. Louis you started, but I think of you as a tiger. It's maybe where your most eyeballs are. And I know you had the comeback in Washington, but I still sort of think of you as a tiger. And so I think for me, it's a little bit of Axel in The Walking Dead because it was such a movement, sort of like a World Series experience, the popularity of the television show.
Right.
It was right at the advent when television was starting to become really, really great. It was right when The Walking Dead was, cascading into being so popular. And it just was a time and a place in the moment. So I guess that, but I try to identify with everyone I do, and I try to make every character different. We always say that. A friend of mine says, the reality is I am how I'm drawn, and that's not going to actually change. How you see me, how I am is how I am. So I'm kind of the colloquial country guy that is either starting shit or maybe helping someone get out of it, So however that fits is right.
Well, I want to talk to Dmitri about these PSA 10 rookie cards. So I collect cards too, but I don't have any PSA 10, rookies or anything like that. I got an Al Kaline rookie I just got. I'm gonna send in a PSA next week. It won't be a 10.
How's it look?
It looks pretty good, probably 7. So, but seeing what it gets. But tell me about your card collecting. What got you into the PSA 10s?
Well, it all started, like I was saying, when I first got into baseball when I was 7 or 8, and then it just progressively got worse and worse, according to my parents, because I would keep them in my dresser drawers where my underwear and pants should be, and then, Lord forbid, I had a bad report card that consisted of a C or two. There used to be a dumpster fire starring baseball cards. Yeah, that happened 3 times.
Oh,
Yes. And so once I got drafted, what I would do, I would go to different card shops in whatever city I was playing in, and I would go and buy baseball cards. And then when I got to St. Louis, my first paycheck, I spent it on practically just buying baseball cards. I sent some to my parents,
Yeah.
Here, Mom, here's my first big league check. It's like $5,000, and Ray Langford had a check for like $200,000. He said, "You keep working hard, you're gonna get checks like this." And, and it
he was
happened.
right.
Yes. And then I did a car show in Cincinnati. I want to say after the 2000 season, and all I wanted was a Pete Rose rookie card. And so the guy had a PSA 8 Pete Rose rookie card, 63 tops, and it has one of my best friend's dad on there, Ken McMullen.
Okay.
I went to school with his son, John McMullen, at Rio Mesa. And anyway, I got that card in a PSA 8, and I was like, ooh, this is kind of interesting. Graded cards. I heard about it, but I didn't know anything about it. So I started doing my research, going online, reading up on PSA, the grading standards, how each card gets its grade. And so I started getting PSA 8s, and then started getting PSA 9s. And when I was getting PSA 9s, people at the time were offering PSA 10 for practically maybe double the PSA 9 price.
Yeah.
And so I started getting a lot of good cards. And then here's the bad part. And this only happened for a little bit. A guy out of Chicago seeked me out and started dangling cards, but putting astronomical prices on there. I didn't have anybody to kind of negotiate with me. So whatever he said, I guess, was gold. And when I got to Detroit, Robert Fick knew a guy by the name of Dave Bailey. He was he helped me out with my baseball card collection. Rhino knows him well. He passed away a couple of years ago, but great guy. And Dave was like, you know what? This guy is ripping you off, but if you want to deal with that guy, that's fine. And I was like, I don't really know him or anything like that. And he's like, look, tell me what card you're trying to seek. And at the time, it was a Billy Williams 61 tops rookie, PSA 10. The guy was trying to get 20 for it. Dave got the card for me for like $6,000.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was like, oh, this is no brainer. I cut that dude off in a heartbeat. And then the dude was trying to sue, like, well, you said that you was gonna buy this baseball card, and so I out lawyered him real quick, and I think that was my love affair with me and lawyers for about 12 years. Oh God, damn. And it wasn't really a love affair; it was getting myself out of trouble.
Do you have
But
the elusive Rhino rookie card?
I have a singlet of Rhino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
Game
I
one?
do have that when he
yeah,
hit the
I've
rock
got a
for the U.S. belt.
and I've got a signed game worn jersey by Dmitri. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Hey,
pretty cool. You guys can
Rhino,
change it.
I need to bring up something to you real quick about that. On the show, on our show, Wrestling with Sports, we had Tommy Dreamer on there with Sean
Uh-huh.
Casey, and Tommy put out there that he would wear a person's jersey, whoever sends them a jersey. So Jason Kendall sent him a jersey, and you know Jason Kendall's not that big, so he's gonna look like Chris Farley in that little jersey. So could you wear mine out there?
I'd love to.
Yeah, I think I talked to Tommy about that.
Yeah.
When y'all doing it, I think it's Slammiversary. I think y'all are doing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna ask Dreamer about that. And if you don't
Yeah.
have it, I'll
Yeah, Jason said he's seen it. I'm dying to see. I want to see him put that thing on.
Gotta get pictures.
Right,
Hey,
right.
Dmitri, I have a question about cards. It's specifically how far you go back. Like, do you have any Gaudy cards, Gaudy gum cards?
I didn't go pre-war. The
Okay.
oldest card I had in the collection was it was the 48 Bowman Stan Musial rookie PSA
Okay.
10. That was
Okay.
the oldest card I had in there, and then I had the 49 Bowman Roy Campanella, and then I had jumped up to the what did I have after that? I have to look, man. I had so many different cards of PSA 10.
Did you ever? So you collected cards. I collected cards. My favorite set was the 1975 Mini. I love this 1975 Mini set. They were just weird, but somewhere as a broke actor, you don't know this, but you got to get rid of your guitars. You might have to hawk, a car and your baseball cards, the ones that your granddad and your uncle gave you. And it's somewhere, when you do that, you totally get ripped off, but they're gone, dude. And it was for, I want to say probably for a wedding ring, like 10K or something. And you've never had to experience it. Like, are you attached to them as like your children?
I you know what, I was for a long time, and when I sold the collection in 2012, at that time I was going through a shift in my life where I finally had the right woman in my life, and it was like, I'm in love with you now, because the card collection was always my crutch, and then I was able to let go and got some coin for it, started up my my foundation that's I serve as a bridge between kids that can play but can't pay and opportunities. So allowing them to go to camps, get on these different travel ball teams or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
That's what that serves as. And once I got rid of the collection, it was like, you know what? It was something that I mastered. I mastered that collection.
Okay.
Got to a point where there was really no real thing I could do with it anymore. It was like, okay, I got all the best cards that are 10s, and now if I'm gonna try and get certain 9s into a 10, like I'm not paying $100,000 for a PSA 9 Willie Mays rookie to try and get it into a 10. I mean, that's work, and you're dealing with the eyeballs at PSA or SGC and the politics behind that, and they're not exactly gonna just be throwing out 10s like frisbees either.
No.
So
Rhino, do you collect anything, Rhino?
I don't know if I can say it on.
Nice.
There's a lot of women listening, so.
Okay, I get you.
Other than panties, no, I'm kidding.
I was gonna say the back of the earrings that fall behind the
Right.
bed or the nightstand dresser.
I don't. I keep my wrestling outfits, but that's not collecting. Very few I've sold to collectors, or I've given one to Dmitri,
Yes.
you know, as a friend. But I just, you know, I just really haven't. As a kid, I did collect baseball cards and stuff like that. Big baseball was a big part of my life, baseball and wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, so I really never got into collecting much. You know, as an adult, I'll collect some, you know, little knickknacks here or there. I tried to start collecting those little spoons every town I went to. You know,
Yeah.
your grandma would have them
Yeah.
displayed.
Yeah.
Grandma, when I was in ECW, I started to collect those. The wrestling fans, I wish they probably wouldn't have heard that, but they're like,
I don't know.
while driving people through tables off of and you're collecting the little spoons my grandma would collect. So, but no, I would try to collect certain things, and I just, you know, would fall out of it. But yeah.
Hey, like in baseball and football, and you see all these players mutual respect. You know, they exchange jerseys. Does that happen in wrestling? Do you guys do that?
No. Sometimes, you know, if guys are really close, you know, they might do that. You know, a lot of times, you'll sign stuff. Like if I wear a shirt on TV, I'll give it to someone for their kid or something. But other than that, it's not really, you know, the respect comes, you know, how you treat each other, more or less, you know.
So nice. He's a nice guy. Hey, I want to talk about some of this nerd stuff back there because, you know, I run a Comic-Con, so I kind of like that nerd stuff. What do you got back there, Dmitri?
Ooh, let me see. I have those Funko Pop Cyborg. I have Firestorm. Then I have what is that? The World Greatest Heroes. I have Plastic Man, Cyborg, Raven, Starfire, Nightwing, and then you see the Bootios over there.
Studios.
You have the Junkyard Dog covering the Bootio's lunchbox, Supergirl. And then you see a couple of Hot Wheels, and then you see a custom-made Dmitri Young when I went blonde bobblehead. And then you got the Fro right back there, Cincinnati. Then I had the one with Washington right beside the middle finger. Let me see if y'all can, I'll just,
Okay.
you see all of,
Yeah.
and then I have more right there.
Dang. You got a collection of
Toys.
I love
Yeah,
finding out when people are nerds.
I feel like there'll be some bidding going on pretty soon.
Those are action figures, not dolls.
Action figures.
Yeah, right.
Still in the cases, huh?
Yep.
Now this is a question that, you know, people will want, you know, wondering why we haven't asked yet. What's the greatest baseball movie ever made to this point?
The greatest baseball
Yeah,
movie.
or your favorite, I should say.
Okay. Yeah. Oh God. There's a couple of them that I think of almost immediately. That being love the original Bad News Bears with Walter Matthau and Tatum O'Neal. Sandlot. That's like,
Yeah.
I cry every time at the end of the movie when. But I hated that the Benny the Jet was a damn pinch runner.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. He was
Get
an
him in the
absolute
game.
stud. I wanted him to be like the star center fielder making a diving catch to end it.
Right.
That's a good one. And then for just sheer comedy, I love Major League.
Mhm.
That's just a nice, stupid movie. The Kevin Costner, 2 out of the 3 I loved. I loved Bull Durham and Field of Dreams. I didn't too much care for The Love of the Game.
Yeah.
Anything Jackie Robinson. What else? Oh, Naked Gun.
Nice. Reggie Jackson. Reggie.
I must kill the queen.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that.
I like, for some reason, I love 8 Men Out. And I think it's because it has very little to do with baseball. And Dmitri it's so hard to emulate. Like, if you've seen baseball, where Dimitri's seen it, it's hard to duplicate, man. Just like wrestling, it's hard to duplicate, and I find
Oh,
that it's
I'm sorry to interrupt. I totally left out A League of Their Own. Oh, I love that movie.
Yes.
I've done 2 baseball movies. One is Angels in the Outfield,
Mhm.
and the other is A League of Their Own. And I love A League of Their Own as well. And the rest of them, I'm always critical of the baseball. It's hard throwing a baseball. If you don't throw right, you can ruin everything.
Yes.
Oh, I left out 2 more movies: The Natural and Brewster's Million.
I love Brewster's Million. Yeah.
It's a great one. Yeah, A League of Their Own. I remember watching that, and just what was good about it is, you look like I didn't know that there was a league and all that stuff, and during the war, but I seen it back in the '90s. And what was great is because every time it's on, I'll research it too. And what a great movie. Every time I watch it, it's just like, I'm blown away.
They're
And,
doing a television show on it now. They're going to, this year, they'll build a television show.
For A League of Their Own?
Yes. So when I was playing in the minors, I finished up with a little middle infielder. We were a lot alike. He was probably a little better player than me. And then he played in the big leagues, a kid named Casey Candell.
Oh, what a comedian.
Isn't Casey hilarious?
Oh, my God.
So his mother is Helen Callahan, who is A League of Their Own. So that's when they were making the movie, Rod Dato invited Casey and myself to come out and work with the girls out here at USC to help them learn to play a little bit. And they got made to look good. Another interesting baseball thing for me was Charlie Sheen was doing a movie in Houston, Texas called The Chase. And he was,
I remember that.
it was wanting to get ready for Major League 2. So he hired me and the Houston Astrodome. He would lease the Houston Astrodome every night and work out while he was filming this movie during the day. And so he had a birthday party, and I met some Disney executives, and they invited me to come do Angels in the Outfield. And my one other baseball story, I've always been a good friend with Bobby Cox. He's always liked me for whatever reason. And so I was in the dugout with the Braves, sitting with him. And I'd just done a movie with James Gammon, who played Lou Brown, the manager of Major League. So and James had always told me he modeled his character after Bobby. So I got him on the phone together, and it was pretty cool.
Oh, that is awesome. I had a chance last year doing all the stuff with Major League Baseball and the Players Association. We did the Girls Breakthrough Series out in Vero Beach, Florida, and this is girls playing baseball.
Yeah.
And we had 3 women from not the league, the actual. One of them named Maybelline, another one named Jacqueline. I mean, they're like in their late 80s, early 90s.
90s, yeah.
And they're coming there watching the young girls, and I was blown away because, one, I love A League of Their Own, and I love baseball history, and to actually have those women there promoting girls baseball, and with me coaching, I found out so much about girls, and they love baseball. The first thing their parents do, they take them to they don't take them to a doggone softball game. They take them to a baseball game. They fall in love with baseball. And then all of a sudden, you got to play with this big old ugly yellow ball. I don't get to play baseball. And then you got to see these girls play. Oh my God. It's just like, like if you don't think about that, these are girls, you wouldn't even like, dang, boy, this some good baseball right here. And then you look, you see a long hair and like, oh, this is a girl. And then you just still watch them play, and it's like the only thing that they lack is like the development part, where the boys will get all the training and stuff for baseball, where the girls will get shunned away and make them go play softball, which I think is unfair. But that's why they have league, because most of the coaches were from the U.S. women's baseball team, the U.S. national baseball team, and they was cluing us in the difference between the boys and the girls and the boys would just take the information and go, okay, where the girls will ask why. So this happens, why does this happen? And I was like, dang, I had to actually be a coach and explain stuff, which was cool. Because the guys would just go, okay, well, why did you do this? Because my coach told me to.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't question or anything? No.
That is very interesting. Hey, Dmitri, a question. When did you first use a wooden bat? Had you used one before you got in the minors?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Long
before.
In some summer ball, right?
Matter of fact, I only used aluminum bats when I was in California during the baseball season, the high school baseball season. Other than that, because when I first came out here, I was playing with the George Genovese Giants team with Dennis Lieberthal, which is Mike Lieberthal's dad.
Mike's dad, yeah, right.
And Mike lives 20 minutes away from me, so we used to drive to his house and hit in his cage, and then we'll go drive to Orange Coast College with the Astros, and we'll play with the Giants, or we'll play with some other team.
Who runs better, Lieberthal or Kendall?
Oh, that's easy, Kendall.
Okay.
Lieberthal had rectangle wheels.
He did. Okay. So I've got an S216 in my hand right here. What did you use?
Well, in the minor leagues, the C243, because in the minor leagues they only give out 6 different models to use.
Yeah, right.
And then once I got to the big leagues, I stuck with a C243 until I was in Cincinnati, and I was using an R205, which is kind of like a C243, just a longer barrel and a skinny handle, and it was top heavy. I like top heavy bats so I could get that head out.
Yeah. Throw the head. Yep, that's you. That's you. I needed something long. I needed something skinny so I could so it wouldn't break when I got jammed. I hit 3 ways: left-handed, right-handed, and seldom.
Oh, dang. I hate that last one.
Yeah, that last one played a lot.
So, Dmitri, where's your love from wrestling come in? I mean, you apparently you're a big wrestling fan?
Huge wrestling fan. That was just growing up and watching regular baseball on WTBS, and then this stuff, NWA wrestling come on, and then on Saturday morning there was this Hulk Hogan rocking wrestling, and it was just very captivating. And then I start watching it, and I'm like, dude, this is like a good male soap opera here. And this is like 9 and 10, because my mom used to watch All My Children, Young and the Restless, One Life to Live, and I got into watching soap operas. So I started watching wrestling. That became my own little soap opera, and I just watched everything during the course of history that happened in wrestling, because I like now how they look back at what happened in the 80s and in the 90s that totally transformed wrestling. I was like, dang, I remember where I was at for that. Like, you remember what happened, where you were at 9/11. I knew where I was at when Hulk Hogan was revealed as the third man. And to this day, I watched AEW last night and NXT, and then the night before I watched Impact Wrestling. Tomorrow I watch SmackDown. And I watch all of it. I even watch Major League Wrestling, which I found really captivating. Seeing some of the guys that are on TV now, they actually started out down there. So I was like, man, this is pretty cool stuff.
Terry?
Oh, geez. I just started watching around the same time.
Yeah.
With rock and wrestling and all that stuff. Yeah. And, obviously when you're a kid, Tigers baseball was just, that just blew your mind, So, and then the 84 Tigers, and yeah, I remember everybody, it was just such a celebration when they won. I think I was 9 years old, and our parents let us go down to the corner, and everybody's honking their horn, and, just a big celebration. And, I remember climbing the stop sign. I only got about halfway up, so it was probably about 5 feet. At 9, I was probably about a good 3 foot, 5 inches tall. So to me, I felt like I was on top of this stop sign. Everybody's cheering for me, but
growing up in Louisiana, and we had wrestling, like, it felt like it was very, very regional, almost like Access TV regional, you know? And and I'm sure it was the circuit down there it was really built out of Houston, I think. And we had like Hacksaw Jim Dugan was my favorite wrestler, you know, and I'm not sure I'm trying to think of the league it was called down in the South down there, but it was really regional, you know, it didn't feel like, and I suppose that, yeah. And it was, I think Paul Bosch was he one of the announcers?
Oh, okay, maybe.
He might have been the promoter, and it just was kind of magical, you know. They were great characters, and I wrote a song about Jerry Lawler for Rob Zombie called "I'm at Home Getting Hammered While She's Out Getting Nailed," and and it was so when I see Jerry occasionally out, he always, you know, it's done tastefully, believe it or not. But I did it for the Rob Zombie movie, Devil's Rejects, and it's a lot of fun. And we cut it at Willie Nelson's studio, and it's kind of bluegrass and fun. And it's really about Jerry wrestling Andy Kaufman during that period, and what Jerry Lawler was going through. Everybody, you know, nobody really tells his story. So I wanted to tell Jerry's story. So yeah, but it seems wrestling's super cool.
I want to hear a few lines of the song now.
Real quick. I gotta get going. I gotta go teach some kids some baseball.
Yeah.
You have to do that.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure being on, and I want to come on again and do some more of this. This was real fun for me.
But we got Johnny Swinger next week, so.
Yes. Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
he's funny as hell.
He is. And you know what's funny is a lot of that is his personality, you know?
Cool. Why don't you tell everybody where they can see you, Dmitri? Where can they look you up if you got some social media you want to promote?
Yes, I'm on Instagram. Just got on Instagram at Dmitri the Meat Hook, and I am a co-host alongside Jason Kendall and Dennis Farrell, Wrestling with Sports. We talk about baseball, wrestling, and other stuff. And sometimes Brett Boone is on there.
Okay,
nice.
And Lou?
I'm at Lou Temple Actor on Twitter. I'm Lou Temple on Instagram. I'm IMDb. You can see what films I have coming out. I've got a nice pirate movie that's coming out called Time Crafters. It's very Goonies. It's a family adventure movie.
Awesome.
And so I'm excited for that. And just reading Lonesome Dove online every day. I'm almost done with that cattle drive during this epidemic. So it was nice to say hello. Big fan of y'all, and thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up. Terry and Gary's Low Expectations Podcast will be on YouTube here coming up pretty soon, iTunes. And I just want to thank you guys. I appreciate your time. It was an honor to have you guys on. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Right on, Gary.
Peace out, Rhino.
Thank you, Rhino. Take care, Dmitri. I'll tell all your friends I said hello.
All right. Got to come down there and see you sometime once this thing clears up.
Yeah. Let me know when you guys need a guest. I'll be happy to come